Now I got a fun pattern for you today. It's my second bug that prominently features emu feathers. Now I could have tied another one of Mark Salkowitz's patterns from his 2019 article in Fly Tire magazine, but I wanted to make a panfish bug, well, sort of. Because these emu feathers kind of remind me of gills, like you might see on an Isonychia nymph. Of course, what I'm about to tie is not an Isonychia nymph. It's nothing but an underwater bug, tied kind of big and kind of heavy, that I'm going to put in my panfish box. And I couldn't really think of a name for this, but since an emu does kind of remind me of a prehistoric dinosaur bird, I'm just going to call this thing the Prehistoric Panfish Nymph. Now the fly really isn't anything special, just a bead head on a chenille body with an emu feather for some gills. So is this thing going to work? I have no idea, but I'll bet I can trick some panfish out there into taking this thing. But either way, it was a pretty fun one to tie. So there it is in the vise, my second fly just playing around with this emu. This one is an olive color. Now this is a size 14, 3 extra long curved shank hook. It's one of my generic hooks. It's a J. Stockard 430, and that's 2.4 millimeter tungsten bead. And I probably don't need much more weight, but I'm going to put a little bit more, 6 or 8 wraps of 015, just to hold that bead in place and give it a little bit more weight. And since this is a black color scheme, I'm going to go with black thread. 70 denier, I'll put a little dam behind this weight, take a few wraps over it, then take it back to the back of the fly. And first thing I'm going to catch in, just a piece of small black chenille. And this is going to be kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a wing case, not really, because this bug doesn't really have wings, but it's going to go over the top of this emu here in a second. So go ahead and get that caught in, make sure that's far enough back. Now the fun stuff. Grab an emu feather that's going to have the barbs about the length you want, and I want them pretty long. And I do want them kind of angled back. This part probably doesn't matter, so I want it to lay on the top like that. So I'm going to flip it around and then open up a little spot right here and then catch this in kind of in the back here. Try not to trap too many of these fibers here. Let's do 2 wraps and then make sure we're situated on top like we want. We're going to end up folding this one over. We'll trim this front one in just a second as soon as we've got it positioned where we want. Okay, I think that's fine right there. A few extra wraps right here. The stem it's not real thick, but it's actually pretty strong. So you can't just break these off like a peacock herl. I mean, maybe you could, but I probably wouldn't. Okay, so that is going to be our legs or whatever we want to call them, gills maybe. But before we wrap that up, take another piece of black chenille, and this we're going to wrap up for the body. So go ahead and catch that in, bring your thread up just a little bit behind the bead. Now wrap this chenille all the way up to the thread. Okay, I think that's thick enough body. Now let's just lay this emu over the top right here and then catch it off right behind our bead. Okay, I think that's going to give us enough legs here. Let's snip this excess. And now pull this, I don't know if you want to call it a wing case or not, just maybe a shellback right there. And then catch this off right behind the bead. Okay, we're a little funky there. We might have some cleanup, but go ahead and fill this area in behind your bead. Make some room for a whip finish. And I haven't been putting any head cement on these. If I wanted to really secure it, I'd just put a drop of super glue right there on my thread, make a few extra wraps. That would hold it in pretty good, but I'm not worrying about that. I'm just gonna whip finish it. Now take a look, see if you got any cleanup. These legs are going all over the place, but you know what? That's probably gonna make it a cooler and more effective fly. If you need to, I've got one right here that I just don't like, so we'll pluck that one out, and there we go. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. I hope you give this emu a try and do some experimenting yourself. So y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.